Do 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 do. You're not singing. Santa Claus is coming to town. Little elf for you there. That's right. So we are happy now, bringing you the top 15 retro games I played in 2023. As always, some of the rules are, this is not indicative of how I would list them on a greatest games list of all time. For example, I think, well, Turtles in Time, no, last year Turtles in Time wasn't even an honorable mention because of the Cowabunga collection on Xbox. And Hyperstone Heist was ranked 16th, I believe, because I also played it on the Xbox system. And I don't know what they did, but I played it on PS4, and there didn't seem to be nearly as much input lag, or maybe the controllers are tighter for retro games. I don't know what it was, but this year it seemed to be better, so there may be a Turtles game or two on this list. But we're going to start off with an honorable mention. We've got Aerosmith in Revolution X, where music is the best weapon, for the PlayStation. And this game, we played at a game night. It was very interesting. I may have been a little drunk and singing Aerosmith songs the whole time, probably annoying the hell out of everyone. But yeah, the game is fun. Apparently all the reviews basically just tore the hell out of it. They say it's better in the arcades, and no doubt it actually is. But I mean, my problem is we didn't get very far. You get some story there. Ooh, lots of Japanese. Because the bosses are just damage sponges. You'll shoot up the environment and you'll collect some music CDs, and those are, I guess, your higher powered weapons, and you'll be shooting them a lot at the bosses. But, you know, I had some fun with it. So I wanted to give this an honorable mention here before we get down to the top 15 games of top 15 retro games of 2023. And we're starting off with number 15, and this is a game I do not have, but it's for the PGS, which is a specialized arcade system. I would liken it to Neo Geo. If you know about it, if you know, you know. They have, I think it's red carts and sort of translucent plastic, so those are pretty cool. But you plug it in, and it was Demon Front, and that game, again, like Metal Slug. I think it was their equivalent of Metal Slug, because you go through, run and gun, you shoot them up. No, not shoot them up, but you run and gun, you shoot the guys. You can select 4 stages at the start, and I think the 5th is the last one, which you can't select until those 4 are cleared. So, you know, it's pretty cool, and it's just fun arcade gameplay. And yep, don't have, again, anything to show you for it, but Demon Front PGS is my number 15 retro game of the year. Then we're moving on to 31 Days, and our number 14 retro game of the year is Star Fox. What happened here? I beat it, and then I think the second day I failed the, medium difficulty course. And then I beat that, and then I beat it on hard straight up, and we even went to the wormhole and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, Star Fox, it was great going back playing the polygons here, and I don't know why my eye is wigging, probably because there's dust from some of this stuff. But yeah, polygons and the FX chip, it still plays great. There's still all the animal characters and their sounds, and the wing breaking and the double shot and the out of this dimension, which once you get into, you can't get out until you, even if you beat the slot machine boss, then it's just an endless cycle of that stuff. So Star Fox, my number 14 retro game of the year. I think I talked enough about this in March But yeah, it was a great play, and it makes the list. Boom. Moving on to number 14 is another one I don't have, but imagine Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. You've got the Neon Knight Rider stage, and so you're on the hover platforms, and imagine an entire arcade game like that, where you're going through brawling all of the enemies and the bosses and shooting them and stuff like that. That is Riding Fight, and the game just blew me away. It's freaking fantastic. Great graphics. I mean, everything you expect from the arcade of that era. And yeah, basically, again, it's that whole 3D stage where the enemies are coming at you from all directions and from Turtles in Time, but I think you're these futuristic guys just punching people or cops or whatever. I mean, it was so long ago, I don't really remember. All I know is it was fantastic. So, Riding Fight for the arcade. Check it out if you get a chance. Actually, check all these games out if you get a chance, but you know me, gamer. And then, so that was my number 13 retro game of the year. Next up, one you did not see and came as a total surprise to me. My number 12 retro game of the year is One Piece Grand Battle for the PS1, which was actually gifted to me. So, I mean, that floored me. I'm like, what do you mean I can keep it? He's like, yeah, I bought it for you. And I'm like, what? So, thank you. And the game is, well, the first of its kind. And I was going to talk about, or maybe I did talk about it during the game video, that, does it list, it actually lists some moves there. Oh my god. Behind the disc. So, kind of wish I'd known about it. But this is the first of the, not Bandai Namco, just Bandai games. And the third one, One Piece, again, this is Grand Battle 3. I thought was more like Naruto, like the fourth game here. Sort of a 3D or a Power Stone type of 3D battle fighting game. But that's basically what this was, only the first generation here on the PS1. And I mean, it was difficult. I think I tried it with Luffy and I couldn't beat it. And did I cheese it with Nami or probably Zoro because he's got the swords? I think I finally managed to get through it. But yeah, this game was very cool. I am so glad that they gave it to me, Monkey D. Luffy. So you got even more moves here. Of course, you know, who reads the manuals nowadays, right? Am I right? But, yeah, so One Piece Grand Battle. This was a great play. I don't know if, how many of you people would appreciate the sort of older chibi style here on the 3D sprites and what have you, but I liked it a lot. This is my number 12 retro game of the year, One Piece Grand Battle 1 for the PlayStation 1. Great part of 31 days of One Piece, and thank you. Moving on. Oh, we are not in the gift bag or box or whatever that it wants to be called. Yeah, it is Crime Fighters 2. Crime Fighters 2 Arcade is my number 11 retro game of the year. Again, we played a ton of brawlers and, or beat 'em ups, I guess they're called, this year. And this one was quirky, interesting stuff. You've got to see it for yourself. I can't really describe it. And it was also so long ago that some of the nuances I think I'm going to forget anyway. So, yeah. But trust me, Crime Fighters 2 for the arcade is my number 11 retro game of the year. And yeah, definitely up here with everything I've already mentioned. So, check it out. Now we can go back in here. For the number 10 retro game of the year. And It's represented by the Xbox version, which you know I hated. It's the disc in there. The disc is in there. Oh, and it's on the left. Okay, so that's a surprise. But for my anniversary live stream this year, I actually went out and I bought the digital version on PS4 so I could play some of those. And I played, the second game I played was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade, the 1989 arcade version on the PlayStation version of the game. And I don't know why, but it's just seemed so much more responsive. Not this game in particular, but I don't know why the PlayStation 4 version just seemed to work. And now I understand, well, kind of understand the hype it was getting for, you know, from everybody. It's still a good retro compilation, but it's, you know, it's not the best thing ever. But yeah, playing Turtles in Time, the arcade, which was fantastic when it came out. You know, and I got to play it on stream for the anniversary. It was awesome. Again, I don't know how the Switch version is, so let me know if that actually plays better. But Turtles Arcade, if you have it on the 360 from the, not eShop, oh god, what's Xbox Live's version of that? Anyway, it's like 200 gamer score. You know what I'm talking about. Arcade? Xbox Arcade? Yeah, that's it. Okay, you could play it on Xbox if you really wanted to. And they may have patched it. I don't know. I haven't gone back to the game. But Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade, the original 89 version, is my number 10 retro game of the year. Because it was awesome. And following that up, my number 9 retro game of the year, also played on the PS4 Cowabunga collection, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I'll be honest, I did not want the stress, so I took full opportunity, full advantage of the save states to get me through both the press section or spiked section that closes in on you, as well as the last stage. But yeah, and to continue scroll farming and whatnot. But yeah, we beat this on stream. Of course, we beat it before arcade, and like we said, the PlayStation collection. And I knew once I got, well, I mean, I sort of knew even in stage 1 that it was more responsive than the Xbox version. Again, there may have been patches, so that may be up to snuff now too. But I knew it was more responsive, and even Electric Underground, who I tend to quote a lot nowadays, but he's honest and he tells it like it is. So he did some lag testing on the Cowabunga collection. I think he did it on Switch, I'm not sure. But you can see there was some significant input lag. So I don't know if they patched it or what, but when I played this game, and I kind of felt it in stage 1 and stage 2, that it seemed more responsive than when I played it, was it last year or whenever that came out? You know, I could feel it was a little bit better. And then when I got to stage 3, the test of the tests, when you're jumping through the sewers and you have to tap jump across the platforms, because if you spin, you're totally screwed. I knew from that point that it was more responsive, and it was actually almost on par with the Famicom or Nintendo version. I'm not going to say it was as frame perfect or there wasn't any input lag, but it was better than the Xbox version. And so we got to beat this on camera. Of course, like I said, we did use save states, but I got nothing to prove. I already beat it without that, because you can't back on the old school version. But yeah, this is my number 9 retro game of the year. Turtles for the NES, Turtles for the Famicom. Again, if you want to play it, check out the Cowabunga collection. It's got to be more affordable than the cart. And yeah, good stuff. Moving on to number 8. Is this? No, there's one more. Alright, this is another one I don't have. This is Legend 1994 for the Super Nintendo. And you will at least have to do a search for Legend SNES for the game to actually show up, because there's so many other Legends and stuff, and you'll get games that are not the one you want. But this one, well, it's kind of like Golden Axe, or it's like they were paying tribute to it. But apparently it was a two-person team that developed this game. And, you know, you've got some medieval type fighters going through and killing stuff. I didn't actually beat it, but the game was awesome. If I could get my hands on it, I would. But yeah, good action, good music. The graphics, I guess they were okay. It seems like some people were not too happy with the graphics online, but what are they expecting from, was it 1994? Or 1992, maybe 1994, Super Nintendo. Like, are they expecting modern graphics or something? People. Anyway, so yeah, Legend, Super Nintendo is my number 8 retro game of the year. Play it if you get the chance. And let's see. Number 7 retro game of the year. Oh, it has begun. We've got Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2, believe it or not. I don't know why. Actually, there were a bunch of Dance Dance Revolution games I could have put in the top 15. I was thinking about Ultra Mix. I was thinking about Fifth Mix. Fourth Mix and Third Mix were kind of ineligible because they were controller days or rest days, so I was playing like this instead of dancing. But if I hadn't have done that for the few days that I did, I would not have survived the month, I don't think. Especially before the arcade trip and whatnot. But yeah. Anyway, Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2. Excuse me. The song list actually kind of surprised me, because I was expecting. I remember the unlocks being a chore back in the day, and I think they were mostly on controller, because I mean, hauling out a dance pad every day would have been total pain. But and when did this come out? This came out kind of early-ish in my stay in Japan. So, but yeah. I finally played it, and the themes, I think the themes are the best part, because they go hardcore into the space themes. They got songs for planets, they got songs about space, and this goes all in on the supernova concept, which, you know, was the thing for Supernova and Supernova 2. But yeah, song list was great. I had a hell of a lot of fun playing this, and surprisingly, Supernova 2 comes out as one of the best games I played for 31 Days of DDR, so it gets my number 7 retro game of the year. Keep dancing. And no, I'm not done with the video. Next up, our number 6 retro game of the year is 18 Wheeler. And you can see this is the Dreamcast version. This is another one I played in the arcades and went home and immediately checked auctions, and here it was on the Dreamcast. It was freaking awesome. We were driving a truck. Show the back there. And of course, you know, you got the steering wheel and whatnot. Gas, brakes. Although honestly, whoever ever uses brakes in any sort of driving or racing game, unless you absolutely need to. Did I show the disc? I'm not sure I showed the disc, but yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, you're going through a truck, you're completing the missions. It gives you a choice. You can do one mission, which is worth less money, but it's easier. Or you can choose the more difficult mission, which is probably like a bigger, not payload, but bigger truck, bigger thing to haul. Like, one is something, and the expensive equivalent was like a construction construction machine. So obvious construction equipment, obviously bigger and more difficult to transport, worth more money, but also weighs more, so slows you down, affects your control if you're trying to get the good time. So yeah, it's really fun. I think you can see some. Oh wow, yeah, you can even do use the steering wheel control for the Dreamcast there, so that's pretty cool. Arcade parking score attack. Oh, the parking mini game. There was one I did okay, and there was another one where I sort of slipped, and instead of hitting the brakes, I hit the gas, so I blew right through the parking for the bonus. But yeah, that's right. So you go across country there, end up in, I think, San Francisco at the end. But is it 4 stages? 5 stages? 1, 2, 3, 4 stages. So yeah, pretty short game. But unless you fail, and you can either fail by having too much damage to the delivery, or by time running out. And honestly, that's one of the things I've never really liked about arcade racers, is the time. Because it's always counting down, it causes you pressure. It sort of forces you to play the game they want you to play, or give them more money. So I understand where they're coming from, but it doesn't let the gamer do their thing. Still, I thought the game was great. You got Truckhead, Asphalt Cowboy. So yeah, there's a couple of different rigs and drivers to choose from. Highway Cat, that sort of looks like either a purple Optimus Prime or Galvatron from the, was it Age of Extinction movie there? And on the other side you can see Longhorn with his tricked out rig and that Streamline. There is one more, I think it's a Japanese trucker that you can either unlock in this game, but is already playable from in the arcade. I think that's how it works. But yeah, 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker. I had a hell of a fun time with that game, and will continue to do so here on the Dreamcast. That is my number 6. Yep, number 6 retro game of the year. Check it out. Okay, we're into the top 5. And not in there. Another one we played. This is the Game Gear Shinobi 2 for the Game Gear. It was really fun until a certain point where it wasn't fun. But you go through and you can select each of the 4 castles, and I guess that is a Game Gear thing. I don't think it was that way on the Genesis. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But so you go through and you rescue, well, ninja, I guess they're your friends, but each one of those you rescue gives you a certain power for traversal and weapons and combat and stuff. You also need to get these certain MacGuffins to access the final stage, which is actually the beginning of the game. And that's where I sort of had a problem with it. But yeah, I beat all of those, so that was okay. And then we got into the boss stages, and you can go, usually it splits routes, and you're going to use either one, or actually the first section, yeah, is normal. So you're going to use each of the different ones for traversal to get through that section. And then I think there's a boss. And then the path splits. So you'll use the different means of traversal to get, sort of work your way through. And I think some of them lead back to certain points. And I kept dying, and I think I had to continue from way back at the beginning of the castle, or whatever the beginning of the boss thing was. So at that point I'm like, well, no, I'm done, because I was tired and probably a little buzzed. But yeah, I mean, up till that point, and with a guide, I'm sure it's totally doable. Or if you know which routes to take, and if you get the skills to get the easiest routes, then you know, I'm sure it's not difficult to beat. Well, not difficult to beat. I'm sure it's beatable. That's what I'm trying to say, because it is challenging. But I had a lot of fun up till that point, and the Game Gear Shinobi 2 is gonna get my number 5 Retro Game of the Year nod, despite having won. And I'll get you, Gadget. Yeah, I'll get it someday. Okay, moving on, and I think you know what's coming. You might be surprised by the selection here, or the order. Number 4 Retro Game of the Year is... It's a 31 Days game. It is Star Fox Assault. Ooh. For the GameCube here. I don't know why this gets the bad reviews it gets. I mean, sure, the controls aren't perfect, but for what it does, it's the first like real Star Fox game, because Star Fox 2 had not been released. It's the first real Star Fox game. Well, even, okay, Star Fox 2 transforms the R-Wing, you walk around, but no, this gets the pilot out and you've got a weapon so you can run around the stages shooting things. Did the adventures? Well, we're not even going to talk about adventures, so ignore that game entirely. So yeah, you got the pilot, you've got the tank sections, so those are back from Star Fox 64. You got the regular space sections, of course, and you've got hybrid sections. And the graphics were great. I thought the controls were great. Well, the R-Wing controls were great. The controls for the shooters and the tanks, they worked fine. But like, it seemed to get mid reviews, like 28 out of 40 or 7s out of 10s. And it's certainly not a bad game by any means. Star Fox Assault was fun. Even the story was great. So if you can, because a lot of the Star Fox stories are very similar, but if you can have a good story in a Star Fox game with the graphics and the gameplay, it's only 10 stages long, but hey, I had great fun with this. Star Fox Assault, play it for yourself, decide for yourself, as with all the games. This is my number 4 Retro Game of the Year. Booyah. And let's see, 31 days. Yeah. Sure you know what's coming. DDR, Star Fox, or One Piece? My number 3 Retro Game of the Year is Star Fox 64. If you knew it was coming, then you've been watching the channel, and I thank you. Star Fox 64, what can I say about this? They took everything that was good about Star Fox and, well, they added the Rumble Pack, which, give or take, and apparently that had a whole controversy and lawsuit around it, but it did bring Rumble to the gaming world first, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, even that aside, you got to select different stages. I think there's 24, or maybe 25, but 25 possible routes as you can complete different objectives in each stage to access the harder areas or warp zone. I beat it on routes 2, route 4, and I think at the end of the day I got the Miyamoto route. It also helps to know your controls, because I'd forgotten about the loop and the Immelman, and I'd made it up to the Star Wolf battle on Venom and could have beaten the game that day if I'd remembered those techniques, but I lost, and I lost my double lasers, and after that it was over, so that kind of sucked. But the game is still fantastic after all these years. Star Fox 64 is my number 3 Retro Game of the Year. Again, I think we're due for a new Star Fox game. Although maybe not on Switch. I think it's gonna have to be on the successor, which is probably not gonna be called the Switch 2. You never know. Okay. Number 3 retro game of the year. The number 2 retro game of the year is, honestly, which DDR game is it gonna be? Come on. We've got Dance Dance Revolution Ultra Mix 3, and a shocker, no, it's not my number 2 game of the year. I'm sorry. This is my number 1.5 game of the year. It almost hit number 1. But I was surprised by how much of the soundtrack I didn't remember. The soundtrack is fantastic. And on top of that, you've got all of the DLC from Ultra Mix 1, all of the DLC from Ultra Mix 2, so that's 12 packs, that's 60 songs. They only added 3 more DLC packs for this one, so that's 15 more. And there was also a bonus Christmas one, and a bonus, one of which I have, the other one I do not, although it is actually an unlockable song on one of the Universe games. I think Universe. So I'm not missing that song. But yeah, this has the biggest song list of any game, apart from Ultra Mix 4, and which almost made the WTF games. And another game I'm sure you know is coming. So, Ultra Mix 3, fantastic soundtrack. Again, busting out the original Xbox. Even though that has a few ghosts in the machine and sometimes it'll turn on by itself, which is so weird. But yeah, and it's so many. You could play this for basically forever, since there's so many songs. There's so many banging tracks. Ultra Mix 3 for the Xbox. And it's kind of sad that sales declined from Ultra Mix, and then Ultra Mix 2, 3, and 4 I can sort of understand because it came out a few months before Universe. But, yeah, and then Xbox sort of never recovered. But, in terms of Dance Dance Revolution sales. But, Ultra Mix 3, I would have to say, is the best game, Dance Dance Revolution game on the Xbox. Best DDR game on any Xbox system, even, possibly. And it gets my number 1.5 retro game of the year, which is not quite enough to dethrone number 1 and the best DDR game possibly of all time. Although I don't know about A3, but at least DDR Extreme is my number 1 retro game of the year. I mean, this has the second most total songs, but it's better than Ultra Mix 4, which had way too much new stuff. I'm like, what? DDR Extreme has the most on-disc songs of any DDR game. So I made it a point to play 1/3 of them. I played 36 songs that day. So that led 31 days of DDR. What can I say? It's got all of the boss songs from Max, Max 2, and Extreme. It adds one, Max period. Not that those are actually fun to play when they stop, but very challenging. Let's say that. But it's got all genres except for country, which was introduced in either Ultra Mix or Ultra Mix 2. It's got classics from old games, crossovers from other Bimani games. DDR Extreme is still, at least as of right now, still the king. Definitely the retro king. A3, I need some more time with that, but that might actually surpass Extreme and Ultra Mix 3. If I had more time with Ultra Mix 3, who knows? Maybe I would give that number 1. That's why I gave it number 1.5 instead of 2, and this number 1, because it still reigns supreme for 31 days of DDR. And it, well, Xbox is green too, but yeah, I don't know. Again, it would have to depend on my mood probably. Which one I would actually choose as the definitive all-time best DDR mix at home here. You can see all the characters there. I don't know. Like I said, revolutionary, online or offline. So yeah, if you wanted to play with friends, I guess this says that as well. But the biggest mix on disc, so straight out of the box. Well, you have to unlock everything, so maybe not straight out of the box, but DDR Extreme is my retro game of the year for 2023. Booyah! I know I crapped on a lot ineloquently about some of these games, but it is what it is. Thank you as always for watching. We'll be back next week with a special indie game top 5 games of 2023. So, hope to see you there, and until next time, keep dancing!